Probably the most popular question we've gotten in the last couple of months is people who say, how do you guys fertilize on your farm? What do you actually do? What do you look at? How do you make your decisions?
Well, there are a lot of tough decisions this year because fertility is expensive this year. As crop prices have gone up, as the value of our US dollar has gone down, as oil prices have come up, all these things have played against us with fertility prices. So we've got to be smart out there. And if you think, oh, I'm going to cut back this year because stuff's expensive, you're going to make a horrible decision for your farm because you're going to hurt your yield and hurt your potential profitability next fall. So you've got to make the right call, and we can't waste any fertilizer this year.
Okay, so here's how we do things. If we pick up a new piece of ground, we're going to do some soil testing. The main thing we're looking at on the soil test is how many nutrients our soil can hold, cation exchange capacity, what our soil pH is, if we need to raise it or we need to lower it, we need to do some tiling, we need to put some lime on. What are we going to do with that aspect of things? The rest of the stuff, you know, we care about a little bit in terms of NP and K. We want to see what our levels are. We care mostly about the base saturation. So we want to see what our percentages are, especially of K and of calcium, what our magnesium percentage is. Those are super important things to us. So we can't just in 5 minutes tell you every last little detail of stuff, but what we can tell you is we do soil testing. We look primarily at pH, cation exchange capacity, and base saturation. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to look at how much do crops remove, and we're going to try to put that out there for fertilizer.
Well, it's really important if you're going to look at a fertility program for your farm that you at least are putting back in that field what you're taking out each year. So you look at what your goal is for yield, and maybe your goal, just for example, is 200 bushel corn. We look at what leaves the field in the truck when we put 200 bushels there. Now, don't forget, it does take more nutrition to raise that plant and hold that ear out there until harvest too. So these are just bare minimum numbers that you absolutely can't cut below. With corn, on nitrogen, you need at least 180 pounds. It's going to leave the field with 200 bushel corn. You need 76 pounds of phosphorus and 60 pounds of potassium. Those things all leave the field with the corn.
Yeah, turning to soybeans, we don't worry so much about the nitrogen, but with phosphorus, you're going to use roughly 48 pounds of phosphorus and 84 pounds of potassium if you're getting 60 bushel beans out there. So what we're looking at is, what is our yield goal? If it's 60 bushel beans, for sure, if I'm going to strip till, I'm going to put out 48 pounds of phosphorus and 84 pounds of potassium. That's bare minimum because I know that's going to leave the field when I take the grain off the field. So I've got to put that out so I at least replace what I'm going to remove. Then beyond that, my next step is, as the season is progressing, we're going to do some tissue analysis in corn and soybeans.
Well, here's one thing that I look at too is when you're looking at a 2-year rotation, maybe you're a corn and soybean guy, or maybe you're a wheat and sunflower guy. It really doesn't matter what crop it is. You need to be fertilizing every year for the crop you're putting out. This strategy of, oh, I'm going to put 2 years worth of fertility on my corn or on my wheat, and then my next crop, my sunflowers or soybeans, will just mine out whatever's left. That doesn't work anymore. You're raising too good a first crop out there to think there's going to be a whole bunch of fertility left. So our point in sharing these numbers with you is look at crop nutrient removal, because chances are you're probably not putting enough fertility out there the way it is just for the one crop that you're dealing with, let alone having something left for a 2-year rotation.
Yeah, and very often that kind of stuff shows up in plant tissue analysis. So when you go out there and do your tissue testing in corn and you do it in soybeans on our farm, what we do, just so you know, is we'll go out every single week and we'll just take 2 or 3 corn fields, 2 or 3 bean fields. Those are the fields we're going to basically survey for the whole year. And we'll go out there every single week over a period of about 2 to 2.5 months. Now on your farm, if you don't want to go out every week, that's fine. Just go out at least every other week. With corn, you want to do it early, from the time it just pops out of the ground and until just after tasseling. With soybeans, you want to do it late. I would probably start in mid-July. I'd go through mid-September if you're in our region of the country. You want to see what happens with soybeans late because they need most of their nutrients late in the year. Corn needs most of its nutrients early in the season. So that's the big difference between corn and soybeans, and it's that way with a lot of grass crops versus broadleaf crops. A lot of grass crops like corn and wheat need the nutrients early in the year. Broadleaf crops like soybeans and sunflowers need them a little later in the year.
Okay, we're throwing a lot of things at you here. Maybe you didn't grab your pen in time and you're not keeping up with us, writing all this stuff down, you can certainly go to our website, take a look at Ag PhD online and get some of these resources too.
Yeah, but to finish up on this whole plant tissue analysis, the reason why we're looking at this is we know what the soil has then. We know what the crop is going to remove, so we've taken the first 2 steps. Without the plant tissue analysis step, you don't really know if what you've done earlier has come to fruition. So in other words, your soil test could say you're high in potassium. You put out what the crop is going to remove for potassium, but you come along with your plant tissue analysis and you showed deficient consistently in potassium. Even though you've got these other 2 things that are saying put out this much, you got to look at the plant tissue analysis and say, hey, we're deficient on potassium every time. What we're doing with potassium over here is just not enough, and you've got to increase that level. Now, I said earlier in strip till, we're putting out the bare minimum of what we are going to remove with the crop. When we're broadcasting with P and K, we up that rate by 50%. If I'm broadcasting with nitrogen, I'd probably increase the rate 5 to 10% if I'm broadcasting, and with micronutrients, I would double the rate if I'm broadcasting. So that's what we do on our farm. We've been doing that for a number of years. Strip till is more efficient at using fertilizer. Now, I'll just say this, if you own the ground and you're going to broadcast, eventually you'll probably get the money back. Might be 20 years later, but eventually you'll get the money back.
And can you really afford that this year? You really need to look at that and say, well, man, I need to take advantage of every dollar I'm putting out there. When I'm spending this much money on fertility, I need to have those dollars working for me right now.
Okay, so anyway, we've talked about a lot of stuff with fertilizer. I wish we had more time to discuss it today, but now we've got to get to our Weed of the Week. It's coming up next.